YouTube, a Brannon House television network.
The Tamara Scott Show. Tamara has served as the state director for one of America's largest pro-life, pro-family public policy organizations. In 2007, Tamara was named one of America's top 10 most influential kingmakers by the Religion News Association. Tamara has spent years proclaiming and defending the values of a Christian worldview that is the foundation of our constitutional republic. And now, here is your host, Tamara Scott.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us. I am Tamara Scott. This is the Tamara Scott Show, where we help you live God's Word in today's world when the headlines hit home. We don't get caught up in the headlines, but we do want to be aware of them, so we better know how to pray, how to strategize, and how to stay focused on our way, right? That's our goal. And we learned this, if nothing else, some of us knew it before, but in 2020, if they can keep you fearful, if they can keep you uncertain, if they make you malleable, right? And so you've got to stay focused in the plan God has for you. And so our goal is to come along, equip you, reinforce you, but to help you stay in the purpose and the plan God has for you. And someone was just saying on Facebook, right, of all the issues on social media, every so often there's a little nugget of good word. And it was just saying, don't seek your purpose, seek the moment of how you serve. What is the service God has for you? And that's usually leads to your purpose. I thought that's probably pretty good advice. And there was this was on the Japanese culture, that would they focus on the moments, not so much the purpose. And the moments are what help them out of depression. It helps them out of anxiety. It helps them understand the beauty and why we're here. And I thought, again, good word, right? All right, so before we hop to our guests, we've got some great guests. We've got 3 guests today. We've got Kirk Prinzler with phyllisschafley.com. We have Rochelle Porto, who I'm just so happy to tell you was one of our viewers on Lindell. And man, she hooked in and studied, and the student has become the teacher on the topic we're going to talk about today, being Convention of States, Article 5. They're still coming after our Constitution. Of all the issues we have facing America today, rather than helping us firm up our Constitution, force the electeds to hold them accountable so that they actually follow it and uphold it, they continue to try to tear it down, put it at risk with a convention that's never been done before, where it can be totally opened up no matter what they say to you, just like it was in 1787, and risked. Everything in it can be at risk, no matter what they promise you. There are no safeguards. We've had court cases, experts tell us this. We've had Mark Meckler even say along these lines, we talk about faithful delegate laws just to give people a comfort, right? Because otherwise they wouldn't go along. I've got that on video, I think from Wyoming or Montana. And I'm paraphrasing, but it's essentially what he said. Before we get there, let's go ahead and bring our guest in. Oh, and we have Heidi Engelhardt, who's going to be joining us as well at the 3rd or 4th segment, because she's going to be talking about the 3 bills, the SAVE Act, the Save American Election Act. I don't know. There's so many of them at this point. And so we'll talk. Hopefully we can get clarity. There's confusion, there's concern, and there's necessity. So we'll kind of wade through those very quickly the last 10 minutes, and our guests on now are welcome to stay with us. But Kirk, welcome. Thank you. You're with Phyllis Scafley.
Yes.
And we all know what a great organization that is and the great work she did with the Convention of States. And my friend Rochelle, thank you. And you are give us the 2 organizations that you work with, Rochelle.
So I'm currently working in the George Washington Speakers Initiative with Constituting America, and I'm a volunteer and chapter leader with the John Birch Society.
And we're so thankful for their work and clarity on the Article 5 and the dangers of it. All right, before we cut away to the discussion at hand today, forgive me for taking about 5 minutes out. This is another hearing. We've had several hearings in the Iowa State House lately that are just out of control. There is a new low amongst, they say it's not even the liberals, they say it's the far left or the new left. We have lost decorum. And I will tell people, it's not about debate. These folks don't care about debate. They don't even care to enter in discourse. They're not, so many of them we'll see today are not capable of discourse. It's all about disruption and destruction of our governmental processes. So today's is a little more subdued. There's not the yelling and Democrat legislators out of control. This one is just one individual, but I just want you to hear the dripping condescension. All right, here we go.
Quote unquote controversial topics. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hello, folks. My name is Abigail Escatel. I am a PhD candidate at the University of Iowa, and I am graduating this year to be Dr. Escatel. I'm here today to address the white male fragility that sits in this room that feels so threatened by the idea that there are Black and brown intellectuals that know more about the United States and this world and its legacies of colonialism in the very grotesque ways that, you invoke a willful ignorance. Not only do you, not recognize a very complex history, a very complex racial history that was built on the backs of Black folks, that was taken when Indigenous people were unsettled from this land, right? But I would like to take the rest of my time, and if no one else has anything to say, I use up the rest of the time to read out DEI content. Courses that address social justice and inequality through a critical lens often challenge mainstream understandings and thus bring to the surface patterns and tensions that other courses do not. We believe that this is due primarily to two key reasons. The first is that many of us are underprepared to engage in the course content in scholarly ways. Basic study habits, reading comprehension, writing skills, vocabulary, and critical thinking are often underdeveloped in college students. As a person who has gone through the American K-12 education, I can tell you that the core curricula for our curriculum is white supremacy. Right? It does teach little Black and brown children to hate themselves. As Carter G. Woodson, an educator, scholar, and avid publicator and avid promoter of, intellectualism in our education for Black students, I will say Carter G. Woodson said that our K-12 education is a miseducation of the Negro. And when we say Negro, I mean all people of color in the United States. I can attest to its white supremacy. Thank you.
Thank you, representatives. My name is Jeff.
Hold on just a minute, please.
So at this point, she has no idea what's about to happen.
She needs to be escorted out of the room, please.
For exercising my time, this is what white fragility looks like. This is exactly what I was talking about, and it is such an honor to be kicked out by white supremacists. That's right, literally.
Watch.
I was just assaulted. I was assaulted.
Okay.
I think I'll follow her.
We've got to stop here. We've got to stop the audio because it gets out of hand. It's apparently with those vocabularies that she speaks about being underdeveloped, they have to make up for F-bombs and S words because the vocabulary is just not there. In her instance, her vocabulary is quite there. And I was thinking, and I was watching the first time, it's so sad that some of these folks are educated and have such vocabularies that would lend to us believing them or listening to them, and yet they're so twisted in what they've been taught. So I'll ask either one of you if you want to comment, but you certainly don't have to because this was more than you bargained for. But I just want our viewers to know what we're dealing with in the Iowa House. If you want to comment, either one of you.
I think she speaks for herself.
What'd you say, Rochelle?
I think she speaks for herself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, first off, the condescending tone. Just her pride and her PhD. Wow, what a blessing. I was thinking, what a huge blessing. I'm curious what kind of student loan she has, because for anybody else, a four-year college just about wipes them out. There's many are still paying their college for just 4 years, a long time after. I'd be curious to see what scholarships she might have gotten. And then when she talks about their white fragility, their willful ignorance, yeah, you're going to gain a lot of favor there. And then she offers just to speak the rest of the time. I'll just go ahead and speak the rest of this committee meeting if nobody else wants to. The guy sat down next to her to speak. You take turns, you move in and out like that. But we'll just ignore that, and I'll just speak the rest of the time if y'all like. I think she was stunned when he called time on her. And I think what we've seen with this generation, with this group of folks, is they don't know how to deal with it when someone doesn't just take what they say and blink their eyes in approval. They don't know how to do it when they actually have civil discourse or disagreement. Stunned that he called time on her, and she had no idea what was going to happen when he actually had the sergeant at arms come and remove her. So I don't know if you all saw it, but then she swept off his table. I think it was a cell phone, which those can be costly, and that is not acceptable. And then I had to shut it off because her words got out of line there. But what she said was, college students are underprepared. Basic study habits, they don't have basic study habits. Reading comprehension, writing skills, vocabulary, and critical thinking, often undeveloped. And I thought, well, on there, my friend, I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more.
Right. And as a retired teacher, we stopped teaching that. I mean, I put in 25 years, and probably by 2010, those skills and those requirements had diminished so greatly. I mean, we just stopped teaching phonetics and phonics for almost 50 years, because they went to a whole word and sight, phonics, sight word based program. So, as far as critical thinking, you have to think what they're thinking, in my experience. It's just,
I didn't even realize you were a retired teacher, Rochelle.
I am 25 years in public schools.
Oh, maybe.
Well, I spent 14 years in county government with many public comments, and I really have not seen that very often. I think it's sad that this young woman has been in academia, and perhaps she hasn't been in orderly meetings. But the way our country operates at the municipal level, at the county level, is a 3-minute public comment, and there are rules, and it's for a purpose. It's orderly.
Yeah, I've been at the Capitol, volunteering, observing hearings for, at least 25 years, if not longer now. And there are rules. You're absolutely right, Kurt. If you even so much as question another person who testifies, if they are unhappy with what they can have you put on the record, or they can have you request censored or whatever. And so for our viewers, they know we played yesterday a video. We had the representative come on the air with us. She'd been in a meeting. Iowa last year took out gender identity from our civil rights code. Thankfully, I would like to see us go further. Anyway, they were just merely passing a bill to correct the code to align with the law that was passed last year. That's all it was. And the Democrat legislators in the room started interrupting and giving smack back and talk, and ended up leading a shame chant to where the whole meeting had to be shut down. I have never seen this. I have seen when we did the heartbeat bill, the pink hats were there and totally out of line. But I've never seen it from the governing body itself. And now this, where people just don't understand, Kurt, as you say, there are rules, there are decorum, and we have to have that in every governmental setting, in your church board meeting. I don't care what it is, you have to have respect and the ability to have discourse respectfully. So I just wanted to play that for our viewers before we started today. I will say, oh my goodness, I think we need to go to break. Thomas, am I correct in that? Do we need to head into break? Let's go. We'll be right back. So thank you all for watching that with me. We'll be right back. We'll talk about convention estates, another issue in which many people speak in support of, when we find out most of them can't defend it. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
What if millions around the world could access Bible teaching and worldview training for free right now without hitting a paywall? That's exactly what happens every day at worldviewtube.com because of the Worldview Weekend Foundation. We don't lock our live stream behind PayPal. We don't restrict our content to members only. Instead, the Worldview Weekend Foundation helps cover the cost of delivering free educational and ministry programming to people across the nation and around the world. And it's not just programming. My Sunday night church service, where I taught verse by verse through Revelation for 18 months, and now I am teaching through the book of Daniel, is made possible through the support of our church, Worldview Weekend Foundation. If you believe this kind of truth-centered biblical teaching must continue, donate today. Go now to worldviewfoundation.com. You'll also find our mailing address and phone number there if you'd rather give by phone or mail. That's worldviewfoundation.com. Thank you.
I need to tell you about our Bella Grace. The slender little sachet has the elixir with the collagen, astaxanthin, and cat's claw. In 2022, got an award for helping with cognitive function, and in 2023 in the sports arena for active ingredients, nutrition, and format. But the best is what we hear from so many of you. You have noticed better joint health, improved mobility, less eye strain and fatigue, helping with computer vision syndrome, visual acuity, depth perception, alleviating dry eyes, but also helping with your immunity, your stress management, endurance, less fatigue overall, not just eye fatigue, muscle recovery, mental clarity, focus, and gut health. Then there's the fun list. The firmer, smoother skin texture, fewer fine lines and wrinkles, improved skin elasticity, decreased age spots, or even skin tone, improved skin hydration, reduce oxidative stress, healthier nails, less cellulite, hair health, better sleep. Who wouldn't want any of those? Call them beauty items if you wish, but who doesn't want to feel a little bit better or more confident when you're going to present in the public square, when you're going to speak at a city council? And who just doesn't want to feel a little healthier? Maybe they're just byproducts of being healthier. More information at tamara.bellagraceglobal.com, tamara.bellagraceglobal.com. All right, tamara.bellagraceglobal.com, because we want you feeling your best. And as well, Brandon was talking about the worldview. You can go to worldviewtube.com/vault. That is the vault where you can subscribe, have access to all of our shows, access to every show on the network, have access to all of Brandon's library, which is incredible. But I'm also hearing that we also now are putting some of our shows on YouTube. For some of you, we're having trouble finding them when they were in the free or the complimentary portion, and so Worldview is allowing us to put some of them onto the Worldview Tube. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. So, all right, joining us, Kurt Prenzler is with BillShafley.com. Rochelle Porto is with the George Washington Institute, if I'm saying that correctly. She also speaks on with JBS and is a volunteer in one of the chapters. And then also Heidi Engelhardt was going to join us for the last portion, but she popped on early, so we're going to bring her in the conversation as well. Heidi Engelhardt is a National Committee woman for South Dakota. So let's have, and a defendant of the Constitution against Convention of States. Let's have them all come in. Hi, everybody. Full panel. All right. So Iowa's under threat. We have a committee meeting tomorrow on SJR 2004. And if I were to read that bill to you, again, it's the same, the vague reining in, limit the power and jurisdiction of federal government, impose fiscal restraints, limit the number of terms a person may serve in Congress. All right. I'll let you go down the line, Rochelle.
Okay, so on all those areas in that particular bill that's being proposed, it's all addressed in Article 1, period. I mean, to address, let me just pull my book over because I wrote them down. Limited power, well, that's Article 1, Section 8. There's 17 enumerated powers. And Madison said in Federalist 45 that, and their words in the Constitution writing it, they were carefully chosen. And it said that they're few and defined. So to address limited power, that's there. To impose fiscal restraints is Article 1, Section 1. And then term limits is Article 1, Section 2. So what new amendment, if they're proposing, will now make the US Congress follow the rules that are already written. That's always been my complaint about Convention of States is, so they don't follow the current document. So what new document or what new amendment is going to now force them to actually follow their fiscal restraints, their limited power, and, the voters have to do term limits. I mean, it's every 2 years for a state rep, and it's every 6 years for not state rep, sorry, US congressman, and a 6-year term for a US senator. The terms are stated. They have to rerun.
Right? And imagine a 6-year lame duck senator. They had Articles of Confederation had term limits, and they took them out because there was corruption as people were making hay while the sun shined, as Tabby Copsa used to say. They were, think about it. Your senator now has something to look forward to for the next 6 years. She's looking for the next job, the next position, the next paycheck. And you've got all those lovely lobbyists out there in DC who have their ear. You back home can no longer elect them. You can't punish them for bad. You can't reward them for good. And so who are they going to listen to in a lame duck? Rick Santorum, who promotes this ridiculous idea, said about Kristi Noem, maybe she would come out for Convention of States now that she wasn't running again, because they have term limits, and he knew she didn't run again. So now that she didn't have to worry about another election, maybe she would do something that she wouldn't have the courage to do otherwise, which to me says to me, she wouldn't do it because she also knew it's not a good idea, or the people may not be with her. But he's saying maybe since she doesn't need their approval, she might now do it. Kurt, you're with Phyllis Schlafly. She was one of the greatest protectors of our Constitution.
Yes, Phyllis Schlafly was outstanding, and I invite anyone to learn about her. She spoke up in the 1980s about this idea, and she went state to state. I just recently saw her testimony before the Oregon Senate in 1989. But, it's a very complicated subject for most people. But if you talk to the average person on the street and you suggest, should we have another constitutional convention, open up the Constitution for changes, I think most people think that's really a bad idea because we do have we have a tremendous Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and there was a lot of conversation and discussion and argument at the time of making the Constitution. Our Bill of Rights, our First Amendment, our Second Amendment. It is so dangerous to open up the Constitution, and can we really do better than James Madison and these brilliant men who at that time? For example, if you were to talk about the First Amendment, you would recognize that many people would say, yeah, I believe in free speech, but nothing hateful, nothing nasty. I think we can do away with that. And so, and then regarding the Second Amendment, I think people should be able to defend themselves, but maybe not with really the bad guns. And so the whole thing, opening up the Constitution, is really just opening up Pandora's box. And I think that anyone that really thinks about this, and the average person on the street, this is a really bad idea. This is a really dangerous idea. And I think, why are people proposing this? And I think it's a novelty. I think it's a way to get campaign contributions. I think when I look back at the Tea Party days back in maybe 2012, 2013, there were some people who just liked to shake signs on the side of the street and really didn't know very much, but they wanted to do something and say something. But when it comes to opening up the Constitution, this is not a place this is a place to be an adult. This is not a good idea. The problems we have in this country are not our Constitution. It's our not following the Constitution. That's what's created the problems.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Rochelle mentioned the enumerated powers. We already have a pretty clear, Robert Brown says if we would just go back to the enumerated powers, we would save so much money that we could pay off our national debt in a few years, right? And the problem with the balanced budget, which is they're not talking about balanced budget anymore, but the problem with that is you just bring in enough revenue to cover the expenses. There's no limiting spending there. There's no not spending something that's not constitutional, to where the enumerated powers limits it to that. This bill that I mentioned to you just says fiscal restraint. As David, I think Iverson is his name, out of, I think Wyoming, has a talk show out there. He says, define that. You're going to send people to a convention, open up the Constitution for any amendment that can be offered, or it can be replaced as it was in 1787. Totally trashed it and replaced it. And yet you're saying restrain government, impose fiscal restraints, limit terms we get, but and we can talk about why that's not necessary, especially here in Iowa and the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate. We've got stats that would surprise most people. It's not necessary. But and Rochelle's right, we have a way to do it. It's called elections. But back to this, what is restrain local government or government? What is fiscal restrain? Are we going to defund police like the left and the Democrats have said? They would defund ICE. So how would this convention go? Because they act like only conservatives will show up. I'm looking at Minnesota, straight north. Who do you think's going to show up in Minnesota? We'll be lucky if they're even American citizen.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and I don't think they have the same concerns on spending that we have here when, what is it, am I hearing trillion? Is it 9 trillion or 9 billion? Billion that they've spent? So, all right. Heidi, your thoughts on this?
Well, I know when I speak to people here in my state, many of them will say, well, it is in the Constitution. But when you start pointing out to them that really what does that say, Congress is the one that sets all the rules. And then I say, there's only a 19% approval rating of Congress. How do you feel about them setting the rules to this whole convention? And once that convention convenes, they have authority really over Congress. So, and I always think there's those 3 words: suspend the rules, and everything changes. So if there is anything that Congress does set, just suspend the rules, and they're on their own. They can do and add. And I think there is this perception that conservatives are going to be the ones that are going to show up for this convention. Well, I think when a convention would be opened, everybody is going to show up to try to be a part of that convention. There's no guarantee who's going to represent. We don't even know how Congress is going to choose those delegates that can go. So it's very brief of what the Constitution does say. And I don't think people really understand the dangers behind it. I think they're frustrated. So they're just grabbing at anything and everything to try to implement change.
And I think Convention of States, the largest political, well, I won't say the largest, but the most recent political action group that's really pushing this idea of opening up our convention rather than helping us enforce it. That's what I don't understand. There are so many things that they could do with the SAVE Act, the bills that Heidi's going to discuss at the end of the show. There's so much that they could do to help us enforce the Constitution, uphold the Constitution. But instead, they never do that. They always just say, let's open it up, which tells me there's something else going on here. It's the most divisive, disruptive issue in the Republican Party, and yet they keep pursuing it. While they tell us, chances are we'll never get it done, while they spend millions to travel to tell us we need to do it. I just see conflicting motives here. We've got to go to another break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. This is our new NutraSwish, Numi NutraSwish. You can find more information at Numi, NEUMI.com/TTSS. neumi.com/TTSS, one of the products we offer, because you all have different preferences and respond differently to different items. So this is our lavender. It's for ladies anywhere along your journey. No hormones in it, but if you're taking a hormonal supplement, you might want to check with your doctor. The blue is for anyone over the age of 18. It has glutathione, which is a antioxidant, helps with over 400 cellular functions, and it helps detox heavy metals, forever chemicals, graphene oxide, one of those terms we learned after 2020, and it helps detox glyphosate. The good glutathione helps detox glyphosate. Glyphosate is found in ag chemicals or lawn chemicals, and some are very concerned about possible links to cancers, HPVs, and diabetes. But the blue bottle, the glutathione, helps detox heavy metals, forever chemicals, graphene oxide, and glyphosate. Then there's the mango colored bottle you see on your screen. Numi Neuro helps with your mind, your memory, and your focus. Now, again, after 2020, we heard something about brain fog, a term we'd not heard before. Whether it's from a virus or a vaccine, many have found relief, a little help with Numi Neuro, the mango colored bottle. When used with the blue bottle, it is so positive that the American Brain Council wrote about it, and it looked like an endorsement. Though we're told they don't write endorsements, it was simply a positive review of what they saw. You can find more information at neumi.com/TTSS. neumi.com/TTSS for the Tamara Scott Show. Why? Because we want you feeling your best. And when you use that TTSS link, you help us be our best. What I just mentioned earlier, how vague, the fiscal restraints, reigning in government, what does that mean? Someone, Hal Shurtleff, the Constitution Center, recommended this book when he was on our show one time. It's one beautiful, but it's The Formation of the Union Under the Constitution by Saul Bloom. I think it's written around 1940, 1944 maybe. But it's talking about Washington and his correspondence teamed with the subject and his almost daily intercourse with visitors at Mount Vernon. He has seconded his written admonitions. Above all, he disapproved of the idea of a second convention, which was one of the favorite proposals of the anti-federalist. He had too much knowledge of the difficulties met at the first gathering to believe that a second one could do any better, especially as there was no agreement among those opposed as to the proper remedy. That's what I'm telling you. They're offering us no clarity. They're offering us no correction, fiscal restraints, reigning in government, and then they throw in packing the courts and limiting it to 9, or balanced budget, or Santorum says he wants to have a convention every 5 years. That would be extremely dangerous. So there is nothing, in Washington's opinion, constructive in the arguments against a constitution or the Constitution. They were all addressed to the passions of the people and obviously calculated to alarm their fears. Pretty accurate today. Join my guests, Kurt Prenzler, Rochelle Porto, and Heidi Engelhardt. Did you all hear what I just read from Washington's writing?
Yes.
No
Absolutely.
remedy. Sound
Right.
familiar?
It echoes Madison also in Federalist 40, who basically said, what we did in the first meeting of the convention, we usurped our power. We exceeded our commissions and, created a whole new document. And the Articles of Confederation also wanted 100% approval for ratification. And they changed that process at the end of the Constitution. They went to a 3/4 vote for ratification. Plus, I don't see anything that Congress is doing today that's putting forward actual legislation. I mean, there's a lot of acts and there's a lot of things that go into statutory this and statutory that. I know you're going to talk about, election law coming up, but the federal government's the reason why the elections are all messed up to begin with. I mean, the Article 1 again says that Congress can, address elections from time to time, but, the 1993 Motor Voter Act, HAVA, UNICAVA, they all opened the doors for what we're doing and seeing right now. And now we're complaining, and now we want to put a whole nother federal law in and again, it kind of goes back to this argument that what actual amendment, if we're going with an, convention for proposing amendments, what amendment will now make any elected official follow the law that they're already taking an oath to uphold and defend? So I'm just curious, because it's just, a limited convention is not constitutional either. There's no rules in Article 5 that describe how, or, other than calling for it, Congress can call for it. They don't even need actually the states to do it. They can actually do it if you read the language of Article 5.
So you're saying Congress could do it without the states?
Mm-hmm. And actually, my congressman has proposed it every time he's been in office. He's put a House Joint Resolution forward every beginning term to do a convention of states.
And they're not even worried about the people or the states. Oh, put that in the pipe and smoke it, my friends. That's a little concerning. What state are you in?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. And Ohio's getting hit with, in their state house, with convention of states as well. Thomas, can you put up the 2 photos I have there? This is just part of their tactics, but they're going after donors. They're looking at those folks who make contributions, and they're going after those folks and threatening them, or I don't know what it is, trying to explain to get people to pull back from good legislators, conservative legislators, constitutional legislators who just don't support convention of states. Now, here's something that came in a mailing. Will you stand with me, J.D. Vance? And you'll put up the next photo, please. Yeah, convention of states. So they're implying that you're not being loyal to the vice president. Now, whether he supports it or not, I have concerns, but I will be more loyal to the Constitution. We don't do personality politics. We shouldn't be so partisan that we're going to let somebody run right over the top of our Constitution and risk it. So even if he supports it, I don't, because I support my Constitution, the longevity, and the defense of it. Anybody? I'll open it up.
Tamara, I think that state legislators think that they have a safeguard that this is going to come back to them for ratification. That doesn't mean that. Congress can call, or the convention can call for each state to hold a convention. So many times I hear, well, we're the safeguard in the end, we'll protect that. That's not true. It can go back to each state holding a convention to ratify this. The Articles of Confederation had to have 100% support. The new Constitution was 3/4. They used the new Constitution for ratifying, not the old standards. So we really don't know how the end product. Well, we won't know what the end product is, and we won't know how the end product is going to be ratified. So state legislators might think they're a safeguard in the end, but that is not the case.
Well, and we hear, so much against the Electoral College. Professor Lessig, who has promoted this idea of a convention, wants to have one to abolish the Electoral College, which means, 5 major cities will decide our next presidency. It won't be up to us. And so why would stop them, to your point, Heidi, and Rochelle, you made the point about how they lowered the ratification in one of the new constitutions that's been proposed. Aren't there 5 or 6 waiting that people have proposed? And in one of those, doesn't it change ratification to a referendum? A referendum? Imagine all you do is have the media hyping one side, you have social media silencing any other side and shadowing it, and you have the craziness that we've seen in Minnesota or in Iowa State House. And now we're going to put our Constitution up for a vote. And as we've said, but when most people don't even know or understand it, or understand the value of it, the uniqueness of it, as Webster said, it is a miracle. Take care of it. Miracles don't happen in clusters. So this is such a risk. And Heidi, you said that it can go back to the states, but again, a referendum would be even more frightening and not unlikely, since they're trying to use things like ranked choice voting. And they're using referendums, as Andy Shafley has pointed out, to force things onto states that wouldn't normally go through the legislature, but they can get the attention of a voter. in a heated moment to move without understanding thoroughly the issue, which is what happened in Kansas on their life amendment. All right, so we're coming down to our third break. Anybody else closing thoughts on this? Why our viewers should understand? One, I don't care what state you're in, you should call your state legislators and tell them do not, under any circumstance, support a convention of states or an Article 5 convention. Under no circumstances. And if you have that in your state houses, you need to have rescission. Ask them to do rescission language. Rochelle, we'll start with you. Anything to close this out? And then you're all welcome to stay as Heidi goes through the confusing election.
Sure, and thank you. Yeah. So I would definitely say if you're not educated on this, and even if you are, the John Birch Society has fabulous publications on all of it. The main one I recommend is called the Article 5 Brief. But if you would like more of a visual approach, there is the Article 5 Academy. It's designed like the PragerU 3 to 5 minute videos, very visual, very hands-on. Before you go in, get educated, because there's a lot of questions that are unanswered with Article 5.
Thank you so much, Kurt Prenzler, which we're so thrilled that Phyllis Schlafly won, I think saved us from this mess in the 80s.
Yes, and I would refer anyone to phyllisschlafly.com. We have a lot of materials there. Again, I just don't really think we're smarter than the founding fathers at this point. And I think that's it's really something that we need to really follow the Constitution and not try to look for cheap tricks.
True.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Heidi?
There is just no guarantee once this would be opened up. And I think that's just a huge risk people do not understand. I feel sorry for voters because they're busy and they're going off headlines a lot of times, and that's put out by the media. They're pushing an agenda. We need to educate ourselves on our Constitution.
The Constitution's not the problem, it's the solution. As Robert Brown says, Article 6, uphold the Constitution, not Article 5, dismantle it. Absolutely not. It is not necessary, and anything can happen at a constitution. As Heidi said, suspend the rules. Those three words you should fear. And again, we don't know who would be the delegates, how they'd be selected, elected, nominated, appointed, or pay their way in.
Or how long a convention would last. There are so many questions unanswered. And again, this book that I have, the Article 5 brief, said if state legislators had that much power, then they wouldn't have had to write Article 5.
Well, true. And I think one of the reasons they put it in there is we had abolished, it says in the preamble of our declaration, that when the time comes, we can abolish government. And they knew full well that the people could do that at any point. So they gave them that option. It's not a safety escape. It is an ejection seat, just like the pilots in the plane. People say, why is it in there? Our fighter jets, the engineers were so brilliant. They put the ejection seat in so that when a pilot knew the jet was in trouble, they could hit that ejection. They could save themselves, but they would never fly that jet again. You use this Article 5, I don't know that we save ourselves, but you will never have this Constitution as we've enjoyed it for 250 some years, and you will never understand this country, what we've loved. That made it so strong in our vast history and culture that have made so many people want to come here. We're going to be right back. I hope you all can stay. Rochelle Porto, Kurt Prenzler, Heidi Engelhardt, right back.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work, try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home, went to bed.
All right, we're back. I'm hoping all of our guests are still with us, but Heidi Engelhardt is going to explain the 3 bills that are before Congress right now or swirling somewhere in the process that are dealing with federal election law. Heidi, I'm just going to let you roll through it.
Okay, thank you, Tamara. And yes, there are 3 bills going through that really are gathering most of the attention right now. And I feel for the voter because of names are similar and they're getting confused. I've had several calls coming to me like, what does this one mean? Or they're hearing this or that. So the first one the first thing I'm going to read Article 1, Section 4. The time, places, and manner of holding elections for senators and representatives shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof, but the Congress may at any time by law make or alter such regulations except as the time of choosing senators the place of choosing senators, which Amendment 17 has changed. So the first one is the one that's gone the farthest. It's sitting in the Senate and in committee, and that's the SAVE Act. And that is to require voter registration or vote or ID when registering to vote. So that would require when you register to vote, there's 5 forms of identification you can use. You can use your driver's license with real ID, driver's license without real ID, passport, tribal identification, and military identification. And with the military one, you also have to show that you were born in the United States. So the SAVE Act, the one sitting in the Senate, is only for ID when registering to vote. Now there is the Save America Act, and that one is in Congress waiting in committee. And that one is for ID when registering to vote, and thus also showing up at the polls. And so when you go to vote, you have to show your your voter ID. Also, the same approved methods of showing identification there. And that one's in committee. That one has not moved any further out of committee in the House. And this one came up this morning, and it is the Make America Great, Make Elections Great Again Act. And the key provisions on this one, now this one's the largest one. It covers several areas, and the other bills are much smaller. This one is, if you want to print it out, it's large, quite large. The key provisions on this one require voter identification to vote in federal elections, mandate states to verify citizenship when individuals register for federal elections, implement stronger routine voter list maintenance required to keep rolls clean, require mail-in absentee ballots to be received by the close of polls on election day, mandate the use of audible paper ballots in elections, ban ballot harvesting, ban ranked choice voting, and ban universal vote by mail systems. So that one covers the most. This one was introduced the end of January, sitting in committee. Let's jump to the SAVE Act, because that's one that's gone the farthest and is sitting over in the Senate. I do think the intentions are to push this through. I have to give a shout out to Leader Thune, Senator Mike Rounds, and Congressman Dusty Johnson. Whenever I have needed information on these, they are so swift to get me the information, and I am so thankful. Now, I'm having to dig into these a lot the way everybody else has to dig into these, and it's a lot. I do feel sorry for voters trying to understand all of these. But these pertain to our federal elections. The SAVE Act, it's small. I have it printed out here, 28 pages. The House and Senate bills resemble each other incredibly close. That's the one that's needing to get through Congress or get through the Senate. So that's kind of a brief overview of the three that are gaining the most attention. First one is just ID for voter registration.
So thank you, Heidi. Thank you. It's very nice, pretty helpful. But the SAVE Act, we kind of talked about last week. I have concerns on it. I think that one has real ID in it. That's a bill killer to me. We've talked about the concerns of real ID, as well as someone forwarded me a driver's license of someone here supposedly illegal who allegedly killed 4 people, and on the driver's license is a real ID. We already have a national ID system. It's called Social Security. And I think we've seen how you can get a new Social Security number on pretty much any corner in a large city. So I have concerns about that. And as well, I think that voter ID was just for registration. We need it for voter day, for voting day. And it has to prove valid citizenship. It has to prove that. So that's my concerns with SAVE. Debbie Kidd, I used to interview her quite a bit. She wrote an article on it. She says, kill it. So I posted it. I'm not saying I'm there. I'm just saying I'm posting it on the Tamara Scott Show page for all of you. I've posted Heidi's Substat article that has all of these bills, very helpful for you, on our page as well. I think I did. If I didn't, I'll get it on again. To our guest, Rochelle, Kurt, any thoughts?
Well, my biggest thought is we need to define citizenship, and until the 14th Amendment is properly addressed, including the fact that it most likely was not actually ratified properly. So this is a big problem. I don't know if that's being addressed in the SCOTUS conversation as far as that goes, but Amendment 14, Section 1 says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state within which they reside. If a ambassador comes to DC from another country and their wife or maybe whatever, they themselves have a baby here and they're residing here for the term of their ambassadorship, does that make that child a citizen? And technically, no, they are a citizen of another country. They're here as an ambassador. The same thing goes with, I think it was John McCain, who was born in Panama. Is he a Panamanian? Or because he was born in a military base there, is he also a Panamanian, or was he American? I mean, if we have sitting senators and cabinet members now who are born in another country, they technically could not be the president of the United States. Their father, I love Publius Hilda, who is Joanna Martin, who is a great lawyer on this topic. If anyone has a question on it, go to her, Publius Hilda, WordPress, I think it is, and listen to the conversations about Amendment 14 and, who really decides who a citizen is.
Our founding fathers were pretty clear in their writings up to and about the 14th Amendment on how it was supposed to be used. And you're right, it has been wrongly interpreted according to what I say, or I believe they wrote. Kurt, closing thoughts as we head out?
Well, Tamara, you may not know this. This may be a surprise to you, but I feel so strongly about this issue that I'm actually running for county clerk in my county in Illinois, just northeast of St. Louis, in the county where Phyllis Schlafly raised her family, Madison County. And so I was a treasurer and I was a county chairman, but some people say, Kurt, that's a step down to be a county clerk. Oh, no, it's not. The county clerk, at least in Illinois, is in charge of the elections. And there's so many different aspects of it. And one of the reasons that we've had trouble in this country is because we've had such a great country that we have trusted our government. We have trusted these companies that come in with voting machines. And it's time for us to really pay attention. There was a farmer in Madison County that a couple of years ago said, Kurt, I appreciate what you've done on property taxes, but if we don't have honest elections in this country, we don't have a country. It is a very important issue. It's complicated, but it's important. And it's at the very foundation of this country.
Thank you so much. We are zipping on time. Heidi, anything in closing?
Voters can follow this by going to congress.gov and make sure that you have this legislative session, the 119th Congress, or put in 2025, 2026. I would recommend you can put in email alerts and they can get alerts just as fast as anybody else.
Thank you all for your conversation today. And I agree, I don't know who said it, but until the voting machines are fixed, I don't care what law, and I just don't want to pass more bad law hastily that is going to either take away state sovereignty, people's liberty, and not fix the problem. If states aren't going to pay attention to immigration law, why are they going to worry about election law? So we've got to do something that will actually fix the problem. And if we upheld the Constitution, I think most of this would be moot. There we go. All right. Thank you all for being with us as we tell you, live boldly, love better, laugh bigger, be encouraged, and never be complacent.